Imagine standing on a shore not of sand, but of infinite, dark dust, under a sky that is perpetually black, yet the ground beneath your feet is bathed in a light so stark and brilliant. It casts shadows sharper than any you've seen on Earth. This is not a dream. This is the reality of walking on the moon, gazing back at a magnificent, swirling blue marble hanging in the void. But tonight, we are not looking up at that distant, gray satellite. Tonight we are turning the tables. We are going to dive deep into a vision of our own world, transformed under an impossible sky. Picture this, a vast, endless ocean stretching to every horizon, but this is no ordinary sea. The sun has long since set, and there is no artificial light for 1,000 miles. The only illumination comes from a full moon overhead, a moon so colossal and so close it seems to fill a third of the sky, its craters and maria visible in stunning, terrifying detail. This is an Earth without a sun, an Earth permanently locked in a silver lunar embrace. The waters below are not still. They are alive, breathing with slow, massive swells. And on the surface of every peak and trough, in every ripple and wave, lies a perfect, shimmering reflection of that gigantic moon. It's not a broken, glittering path of light. It is a near-perfect mirror, a second inverted world of silver and black dancing on a liquid canvas. This is the scene, a moonlit ocean with silver reflections on the water, but pushed to a cosmic extreme. What would such a world be like? How would it function? What terrifying beauty and brutal physics would govern every second of existence on a planet like this? This is not just a calming visual for meditation. This is a profound scientific and philosophical exploration of light, gravity, biology, and the very essence of reality. Strap in, because we are about to embark on a journey to a world that could exist in some far-flung corner of the galaxy, a world where the concept of day is a forgotten myth, and the only God is a haunting, heavenly body forever fixed in the sky. By the end of this video, your understanding of our own planet, our moon, and the delicate ballet that allows life to flourish will be fundamentally altered. You will never look at a moonlit night on our own beaches the same way again. This is a story of cosmic mirrors, eternal tides, and the silent, silver heartbeat of an alien Earth. To understand this silver world, we must first dismantle and reforge its very foundations, starting with the sky. That impossible, gigantic moon dominating the heavens is the key to everything. For it to appear so large, it must be extraordinarily close. In our reality, the moon is about 384,400 kilometers away. To make it appear to fill such a vast portion of the sky, we need to bring it within, say, 20,000 kilometers a hair's breadth in astronomical terms. This proximity has immediate, catastrophic, and fascinating consequences. The most obvious is gravity. The tidal forces exerted by a moon that close would be unimaginably powerful. Our oceans would be in a state of permanent, violent upheaval. But here's where our specific scenario gets interesting. We picture a calm, majestic ocean with reflective swells, not a planet-scouring tsunami. This implies a strange equilibrium. Perhaps this Earth is tidally locked to its moon just as our moon is locked to us. One face of Earth would permanently stare at its lunar companion. On that hemisphere, the moon never sets. It is fixed, eternal, a silent sentinel. The ocean below it, the sublunar point, would be perpetually bulging towards the moon, held in a gravitational stalemate. This could, in theory, create a kind of stable, albeit monstrously tall, standing wave. The silver reflections we see are on the surface of this eternal, watery bulge, but the physics of light here are alien. With no sunlight, the moon's surface is illuminated solely by starlight and the faint, reflected glow of the Earth, itself earthshine. Yet we see it as brilliant. This means our eyes, or the cameras of this thought experiment, are incredibly sensitive, or the moon's surface is composed of something like perfectly white, reflective regolith. The light isn't the warm, scattered glow we know. It's a cold, direct, and achingly pure silver beam. There is no atmosphere to scatter it, no blue sky to soften it. The light would travel in almost perfectly straight lines, creating razor-sharp shadows. And that mirror-like reflection on water that is unnaturally still due to the gravitational lock. Every detail of the moon's tortured surface, every crater, every ray system from impacts, every deep gray sea of basalt would be perfectly replicated in the ocean's mirror. You wouldn't just see a circle of light. You would see a perfect, inverted duplicate of a world hanging in the water below you. This creates a disorienting, sublime visual. Two moons, one real, one a liquid phantom, facing each other across a thin line of darkness that is the actual horizon of the water. The silence would be absolute, broken only by the slow, deep groan of the water itself under the immense strain of gravity. A sound felt in your bones more than heard by your ears. Now, let's plunge beneath that mirrored surface. What exists in the eternal night of this global ocean? Without the sun's energizing light, photosynthesis as we know it is impossible. The base of the food chain cannot be powered by sunlight, so what drives life? The answer lies in the darkness and the deep chemosynthesis. Around hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, in the perpetual gloom, ecosystems would thrive on the heat and chemicals from the Earth's interior. But the upper waters, the realm of our silver reflections, would be a different kind of place. It could be a desert, largely devoid of life, with nutrients locked away in the depths. Or it could host a bizarre form of life we can scarcely imagine, organisms that feed on moonlight. Not photosynthesis, but selenosynthesis. Imagine microscopic plankton with surfaces like perfect parabolic mirrors or intricate diffraction gratings designed to capture and focus the cold lunar photons. Their energy would be minuscule, making metabolism incredibly slow. Larger creatures might be transparent, gelatinous, and slow-moving, drifting in the currents to conserve energy. Their bioluminescence would be common, not for communication, as in our deep sea, but as a form of camouflage, matching the silver glow from above to disappear from predators looking upward. The pressure at the surface would be normal, but the water itself would be strange, with no UV radiation from the sun to sterilize the surface, and with possible mineral leaching from the intense tidal forces warming. The crust, the water's chemistry could be rich in dissolved metals like silver, mercury, or other reflective elements. This could literally give the water its silvery, mirror-like quality, a metallic sheen that is not just a reflection but an intrinsic property. A swim in this ocean would not be like a swim in ours. You might feel a slight viscosity, a metallic taste in the air, and your body would be lit from above and below by the same cold, dual source. You would see your own shadow cast, not just on the seabed below, but also projected onto the very surface of the water. Dark patch interrupting the perfect lunar reflection, a stark reminder of your intrusion into this pristine alien symmetry. Consider the human, or the intelligent observer, experience on this world. There is no day-night cycle. Time is not measured by sunrise, but by the phases of the moon. But wait, if the moon is fixed, are there phases? Possibly. If this Earth-Moon system is orbiting a star, the moon would go through phases as seen from the sunlit side. But on our dark, moon-facing hemisphere, the phases would be opposite. A full moon for us would be when the sun is behind us, illuminating the moon fully. But the sun is never behind us. It's on the other side of the planet. So our fixed moon might be in a permanent new moon phase from the perspective of the star's light, illuminated only by Earthshine. This means the light level would be constant, a perpetual, dim silver twilight. Civilization, if it arose here, would have a psychology molded by permanence and reflection. The concept of hiding in darkness is non-existent. The light is always there, revealing all. Architecture would be about managing and playing with that light, creating courtyards that capture the dual reflections, using water as a fundamental building material to amplify the glow. Their art would be about subtle variations in silver and black. Their music might mimic the slow, deep harmonic resonances of the tidal waves. Their myths would not be of a sun god, but of the silver twin, the real moon, and its watery counterpart. They might believe they live in the space between two worlds. That reality is fundamentally dual. Navigation on the featureless ocean would rely on reading the subtle imperfections in the moon's reflection or on mapping the fixed, unmoving stars that wheel around the celestial pole. The very idea of a horizon is blurred. Where does the real moon end and the reflection begin? This could foster a culture deeply connected to intuition, reflection, and acceptance of a static fate, unlike our solar-driven cultures of progress, cyclical renewal, and dawn-driven hope. The mental toll of no sunrise, no golden hour, no warmth on your skin would be immense for a human. We are solar creatures, our circadian rhythms tied to the sun. Here, we would be perpetual insomniacs, our biology adrift in a sea of unchanging silver, our souls longing for a warmth we have never felt but somehow instinctively miss. But this beautiful, silent world is a clock ticking toward its own inevitable end. The gravitational embrace that creates this stunning vista is also a death grip, a moon that closes inside Roche limit, the distance which a celestial body's own gravity is overcome by the tidal forces of the body it orbits. Our moon would be torn apart. The rings of Saturn are a graveyard of a moon that ventured too close. So, our silver Earth might be surrounded by a brilliant, shimmering ring of moon debris. This ring, made of ice and dust, would reflect even more light onto the night ocean, creating complex patterns of light and shadow, a celestial ballet of destruction playing out in slow motion. Alternatively, the immense tidal forces would also heat the Earth's interior dramatically through friction, leading to hyperactive volcanism and tectonic activity. The calm ocean might be crisscrossed by volcanic island arcs glowing red against the silver, their smoke and ash sometimes dimming the mirror for centuries. The ocean's temperature would be warmer, perhaps even tepid, from this geothermal heat. And finally, the Earth's rotation would be dramatically slowed. A day might last a year, a century, or be locked forever. This scenario we've painted is a transient cosmic miracle. It could only exist for a brief few million years in the chaotic dance of planetary formation and destruction. We are witnessing a snapshot of sublime beauty in the midst of a violent gravitational rearrangement. It is a reminder that the universe's most breathtaking sights are often born from catastrophe and are fleeting. It teaches us that our own stable, sun-drenched existence, with its gentle moon and predictable tides, is a rare and precious miracle. It makes our own moonlit nights on a Hawaiian beach or a Mediterranean shore not mundane, but incredible, a delicate, balanced version of a forces that elsewhere in the cosmos create silent, silver apocalypses of breathtaking beauty. So the next time you see the moon's reflection on water, remember this vision. Remember that it represents a balance so precise, a distance so perfect that it allows for life, for warmth, and for the glorious, rotating tapestry of day and night. It is not a given, it is a gift. Staying with our silver world, let's zoom in from the cosmic scale to the molecular, to the very particles of light and water that create the spectacle. The silver reflection is not a simple mirror effect. On a typical moonlit night on Earth, the water's surface is choppy, breaking the reflection into 1,000 shimmering pieces. Here, the reflection is described as perfect or near perfect. This implies a surface of extraordinary calm. How is that possible on an ocean? We've mentioned tidal locking, but that alone wouldn't suppress all waves. There would be no wind. Why? On a tidally locked planet with a permanent cold side, the moon-facing side is not necessarily cold from starlight, but it lacks an internal heat source like a star. The atmospheric circulation would be bizarre. The stark temperature difference between the permanent lunar hemisphere and the permanent star-facing hemisphere, if there is one, would create hurricane-force winds in the upper atmosphere. But at the boundary of the terminator, there might be zones of utter, dead calm. Our ocean exists in one of these calm zones. The air is still, breathlessly still. No breeze ripples the water. The only disturbances are the massive gravitational swell, the planetary scale tide, which is so large and slow its surface curvature is negligible, appearing flat, and perhaps the gentle stirrings from life below. This stillness is the first prerequisite for the mirror. The second is the nature of the light itself. Sunlight is a broad spectrum, a riot of colors. Moonlight is reflected sunlight, but it's already filtered and diffused by the moon's dusty surface, becoming heavier in the red and infrared spectrum, though we perceive it as bluish silver. In our scenario, the light is even purer, colder, and more direct. It's almost monochromatic, a true silver laser. When such a coherent, single-color light hits a perfectly flat surface, the reflection is mathematically perfect. Every photon bounces off at the same angle it arrived. The water is not behaving like water as we know it, it's behaving like a liquid metal like mercury. This brings us to the water's composition. Under these extreme conditions, with intense pressure from the tidal bulge and possible geochemical leaching, the surface layer of the ocean could be supersaturated with certain compounds. Imagine a thin, micron-thick layer of a surfactant, a natural oil or a metallic film, constantly replenished by underwater vents or biological processes. This film would suppress small-scale capillary waves instantly, granting the water an eerie, oily smoothness. A pebble dropped into it wouldn't create expanding rings, it would sink with a single, quiet plop, and the surface would heal itself into perfect flatness within seconds. This film is what creates the perfect specular reflection, turning the ocean into a literal astronomical mirror. Now let's talk about the viewer, the witness to this scene. Where are we standing? We are not on a boat. A boat would disturb the mirror. We are not swimming. Our movements would shatter the illusion. We must be on a fixed platform, perhaps a rocky spire, the peak of a submerged mountain that just breaks the surface, or a vast, floating lily pad-like natural formation made of a pumice stone or a biotic mat. This platform is dark, non-reflective, absorbing what little light hits it. From this vantage point, the world reduces to a fundamental duality, the up and the down. Up is the moon, a landscape of scars and silent violence. Down is the moon's double, that same landscape rendered in liquid, moving with a slow, viscous grace that the solid rock above cannot mimic. This induces a profound psychological state known as the overview effect times 1,000. Astronauts report feeling a cosmic connection, seeing Earth from space. Here, you are seeing another world, and its duplicate, with impossible clarity. The sense of self shrinks. You are a tiny, fragile speck of carbon-based life caught between two colossal silver spheres. The silence is not just an absence of sound, it is a presence. It is the sound of space itself, a vacuum transmitted through the ground and the water. You might hear the low-frequency hum of the Earth's core, or the crackle of the ionosphere far above, but those are felt, not heard. Your brain, deprived of its usual sensory input, would likely enter a state of heightened, almost psychedelic awareness. The boundary between the real and the reflected would blur. If you stretch out your hand, you see it in front of you, but you also see its reflection below, seemingly touching the reflected mountains of the moon. Which is more real? The philosopher's dilemma of the map and the territory becomes a visceral sensory experience. What about time? Without the sun, there is no sunrise, no noon, no sunset. Time becomes abstract, measured in heartbeats, in breaths, or in the slow, almost imperceptible drift of stars behind the fixed moon. Certain stars would be eclipsed by the moon, their disappearance and reappearance marking ours. Perhaps the moon itself is not perfectly fixed. Maybe it librates, wobbling slightly, causing the reflection to slowly drift and distort over a cycle of years. This would be a major celestial event watched and recorded by any inhabitants with a religious fervor. The very stability of their universe depends on that fixed point. A culture here would develop a timekeeping system based on stellar occultation and lunar libration cycles, their calendars spanning millennia with ease. Their history would be long, patient, and cyclical, devoid of the urgency that a setting sun imposes. But this stability is an illusion on a geologic timescale. The tidal forces are relentlessly transferring angular momentum. The moon is either slowly spiraling inward, dooming itself to disintegration, or outward, slowly shrinking in the sky over eons. An ancient myth might speak of a time when the silver twin was larger, or when the reflection was broken. They might have prophecies of the silver fracturing, when the mirror will finally break, which is in fact an astrophysical inevitability. Their entire civilization is built on the contemplation of a dying, or at least a transient, phenomenon. Let's think about the practicalities of exploration. How would you traverse this mirror ocean? A conventional boat with a hull would create a wake, destroying the beauty it travels through. Perhaps vessels would be designed as hybrid submarines that travel just beneath the mirror surface, their periscopes being the only thing breaking the plane, or strange, needle-like boats that cut through the water with minimal displacement, like water striders on a grand scale. Or maybe travel is conducted on the reflection itself, using sleds or skates that glide on the thin surfactant film, allowing inhabitants to skate across the stars and lunar craters as if moving through a galaxy. Navigation would be celestial in the extreme. You wouldn't need a compass. The moon is the ultimate North Star. Your position could be triangulated by measuring the exact angle of specific craters in the reflection. Maps would be strange, inverted things, showing the reflective sea chart superimposed on an image of the moon's surface. A bay on the map might correspond to the dark shape of the crater Tycho in the reflection. The geography of the sky becomes the geography of the sea. Fishing or gathering food would be a dark art. You cannot see into the water. The perfect reflection obscures the depths entirely. You would fish by sound, by feel, or by using bioluminescent lures that mimic the creatures of the deep. Or perhaps you form the ubiquitous surface film, scraping it up to process it for nutrients or materials. This metallic sheen could be a vital resource. Finally, what is the purpose of such a world in our imagination? Serves as the ultimate thought experiment in perception and reality. It is a natural cosmic art installation illustrating the principles of reflection, gravity, and celestial mechanics. For scientists, it's a playground to model extreme tidal forces, exotic ecosystems, and atmospheric dynamics. For artists and poets, it is the purest metaphor for duality, for the subconscious, for the world of ideas versus the world of forms. In our story, it reminds us that beauty in the universe is often a side effect of violent, impersonal forces. The serene silver glance is born from a gravitational struggle that will one day tear the worlds apart. It teaches us humility. Our bustling, sunlit, colorful Earth is one possibility. This silent, monochrome mirrored Earth is another. Both are valid expressions of physics. By contemplating this extreme, we gain a deeper appreciation for the delicate, complex, and vibrant balance we enjoy every day. We realize that our blue skies, green forests, and golden sunsets are not the default setting of the universe, but a rare and wonderful specific configuration. The moonlit ocean with silver reflections is not a place we could live, but it is a place that expands our understanding of what could be, and in doing so, deepens our love for what is. To truly own this concept, we must move from passive observation to active imagination. Let's construct a narrative, a day, or rather, a timeless period in the life of an explorer on this silver world. You are a scientist, an artist, or perhaps the last survivor of an expedition from a sunlit world. Your habitat is a geodesic dome on one of those dark, non-reflective platforms. You suit up. The suit is not for temperature, as the air is a constant, cool 10 degrees Celsius from geothermal warmth. It's for pressure and to provide a contained environment, as the air, while breathable, is thin and laced with trace metallic vapors. You step out. The first thing that strikes you is not the sight, but silence. It is so complete it feels like a physical pressure on your eardrums. You hear your own breath, the rustle of your suit, the pulse in your neck all amplified. You look up, and the instinct is to flinch. The moon is not just large, it feels close enough to touch. You can see the sharp, uneroded edges of craters from impacts that happened yesterday, geologically speaking. You see the dark, frozen lava seas as continents of gray. There is no man in the moon. The face is too large, too detailed, to reduce to a pattern. It is a world. Then you look down. Your boots are on a black, volcanic rock. Just inches beyond your toes, the rock ends and the mirror begins. It is so perfect that for a terrifying second you feel you are standing on the edge of a cliff overlooking a bottomless abyss that is also the sky. Your brain rebels. You kneel slowly and extend a gloved hand towards the surface. You break the plane. There is no resistance, just a slight coolness. As your fingers penetrate, the reflection shatters locally, but just a few feet away, it remains pristine. You see your hand in the water, but you also see its reflection, now disconnected and dancing. You pull your hand out. The water beads up and slides off the glove, and within moments, the surface is flawless again, healing as if alive. You stand and begin to walk along a narrow causeway built just above the water. Your every step feels sacrilegious. You are walking on the sky. The stars are both above you and below you. The Milky Way is a river of diamond dust spanning two universes. You come to your research station, a series of sensitive instruments on tripods, their feet submerged in the water, but not breaking the surface tension, held by floating collars. One instrument is a photometer, measuring the exact spectral quality of the moonlight. It reads a near-perfect, narrow band of silver-white, with almost no infrared. Another is a gravimeter, humming quietly, charting the immense, steady pull of the moon. The needle doesn't waver, it is pinned. A hydrophone is lowered through a special, non-disturbing port you put on headphones. The sound that comes through is not of waves or creatures, but a deep, omnipotent, resonant note, like the lowest string on a cosmic cello being bowed slowly. This is the sound of the ocean under tidal stress, the water itself vibrating at its fundamental frequency. It is the planet singing to its captive moon. Your task today is to collect samples of the surface film. You use a device like a floating, whisper-thin sheet of glass. You slide it horizontally into the water at a precise angle, then lift it. Adhering to it is a film of the silver substance. Under a portable microscope, it doesn't look like oil or metal. It's a lattice, a naturally forming, two-dimensional crystalline structure of organic molecules and metallic ions, self-assembling on the interface between water and air. It's a living mat, or partly living. It might be a colony of extremophile bacteria that use the minute energy of moonlight to arrange molecules into this perfect reflective sheet as a form of protection or energy harvesting. You are not looking at water, you are looking at a planet-wide organism, a skin. This changes everything. The mirror is not an accident of physics. It is a biological phenomenon. The life on this planet has evolved to create the conditions for its own unique existence. The film calms the waves, allowing for the reflection, which in turn amplifies the available moonlight for other selenotrophic organisms below it. It's symbiotic, planet-scale ecosystem engineering. This revelation hits you like a physical blow. You are not on a dead rock with water. You are on a living, breathing, thinking planet in a way that has crafted its own macro-scale lens to focus the only energy it has. The silence around you is not emptiness. It is the quiet of a vast, slow mind at work. As you process this, you notice a change. A star near the moon's limb begins to dim. It doesn't twinkle, it just fades. An eclipse. Not of the moon, but of the star by the moon. The black edge of the lunar disk bites into the pinpoint of light, and in minutes it's gone. You look down. The reflection of that star also winks out in the mirror. This is your clock. This event marks the start of the work period in your mission log. You have several such eclipses marked in your schedule to structure your sleep cycle, fighting the timelessness. You continue your work, taking water samples from different depths using a thin tube to avoid disturbance. The water below the film is clear, but not empty. It's filled with slow-drifting, translucent chains of organisms that look like glowing pearls. They pulse with a soft internal light that matches the silver from above active camouflage. You deploy a small, slow-moving drone that glides just beneath the film, its cameras looking sideways into this vertical, silent world. The data streams back to your screen. You see larger shapes in the deep, moving with glacial slowness. Something ribbon-like, kilometers long, drifts in the current, filtering the water for the microscopic mirror plankton. The ecology is elegant, slow, and efficient, a stark contrast to the chaotic, sun-driven race of our world's ecosystems. Energy is too precious here for speed or aggression. Predation might happen on a timescale of weeks, a slow envelopment rather than a chase. This is a world of patience, a lesson in slow existence that humanity, with its frantic pace, has forgotten. As the hours pass, marked by 3 more stellar eclipses, you feel a profound connection and a profound loneliness. The connection is to the scale of it all, to the intricate, beautiful system you are witnessing. The loneliness is because you are an alien here. Your biology is wrong. You crave warmth, variety, noise. The unending monochrome, the silence, the lack of cycle begins to weigh on your psyche. You find yourself talking to your instruments just to hear a voice. You play recordings of earth sounds, birdsong, rain, city traffic. They sound bizarre, jarring, out of place in this cathedral of silence. They sound violent. It makes you realize that our world is loud, bright, and fast because it is rich with energy. This world is quiet, silver, and slow because energy is scarce. One is not better than the other. They are different solutions to the problem of existence. But you are a child of the sun, and you feel a homesickness so deep it aches in your bones. You long to see a color that isn't a shade of gray or silver. You dream of the feel of sunlight on your face. This mission is a study not just of an alien world, but of the human spirit's need for rhythm and warmth. You pack up your samples, your data drives, full of stunning imagery and revolutionary biological data. You make your way back to the habitat dome. Before you go inside, you take one last look. The moon and its twin remain eternal, silent, beautiful, and utterly indifferent to your presence, your discoveries, or your longing. You are a ghost here, a temporary flicker of consciousness in an aeons-old silver dream. You enter the airlock, and the door seals, cutting off the view. Inside, under warm, white LED lights that mimic a sun that has never shone on this hemisphere. You begin to write your report, knowing that the words will never do justice to the experience of being a mote of dust between 2 mirrors, a witness to the most beautiful and lonely scene in the cosmos. Let's now deconstruct this vision from a hard science perspective. Is such a world physically possible? We must ground our poetic vision in astrophysics, geology, and chemistry. First, the fundamental setup: an Earth-like planet tidally locked to a large moon, with the moon close enough to appear huge. For tidal locking to occur with a planet the size of Earth to a moon, the moon must be massive and close, and the system must be old, allowing tidal friction to slow the planet's rotation to a halt. This is plausible. We see tidal locking everywhere our moon is locked to us. Many moons are locked to their gas giants. But an Earth locked to its moon is trickier because Earth is more massive. It would require a moon more massive than ours, perhaps even a captured dwarf planet-like Ceres, but much closer. The gravitational interplay would be intense. The moon would likely be inside the Earth's Roche limit for a solid body. But if it were sufficiently rigid, a solid iron core, for instance, it might hold together for a time. More likely, it would be shedding material, creating a ring. So, our vision might include a faint, silver ring arcing across the sky, adding another layer of reflection. The fixed moon might also show massive stress fractures, glowing with volcanic activity from tidal heating its surface, a mix of brilliant white plains and glowing red cracks. So the sky might have a dash of crimson after all. Next, the ocean and the reflection. A global ocean is plausible on an Earth-mass planet in the habitable zone of its star. But our scenario places the star on the opposite side. The night side would be freezing, except for geothermal heat. The tidal forces from the moon, however, would provide immense internal heating through friction. This could keep the global ocean liquid even without starlight. In fact, the ocean might be globally warm, even hot, like a giant spa, with steam rising and condensing in the cold upper atmosphere, creating a permanent global fog. That would ruin our mirror. So, for a clear mirror, we need a balance, enough heat to keep water liquid, but not so much that it creates obscuring atmosphere or constant storms. Perhaps the ocean is not global, but a vast, singular sea on the sublunar point, a tidal bulge ocean held in place by gravity with land masses on the edges of the hemisphere. The sea would be circular, millions of kilometers across, but with a defined, mountainous rim. Our platform is on that rim. This is more plausible. A captive ocean under the moon, not a global one. The reflection would then be a perfect circle of silver, like a pupil in a rocky iris. The perfect calm is a bigger challenge. No wind is possible in a tidally locked, thin atmosphere on the sublunar point. The atmospheric pressure might be very low, as gases would condense on the frigid far side. So, the air is thin, still, and clear. Waves could still be generated by tidal forces from the star the planet orbits, or by underwater seismic activity. But if the surface film is a biological suppressant, as we hypothesized, it could dampen any small waves instantly. This film itself is scientifically fascinating. On Earth, we have sea slick's natural oil films that calm small areas of water. Certain algae and bacteria produce surfactants. Scaling this to a planetary level is a leap, but not an impossible one in an ecosystem with 1 billion years of evolution focused on harnessing moonlight. The film would need to be self-repairing, nutrient-based, and stable. It could be a byproduct of the dominant life form's metabolism, constantly exuded and replenished. This turns the ocean from a physical system into a biotic aesthetic project. The silver color, if the film contains suspended nanoparticles of a metal like silver or aluminum, or even perfectly aligned water crystals, it could achieve that perfect specular reflection. Such nanoparticles could be formed biologically. Some bacteria are known to reduce metal ions into nanoparticles. So, a biology that mines dissolved metals from the deep vents and processes them into a reflective surface coating is within the realm of speculative astrobiology. Now, the light source. The moon is illuminated by the distant star. But if the planet is tidally locked with one face to the moon, the other faces to the star. That means the star is always shining on the opposite hemisphere. The moon we see is being illuminated by that starlight from behind us, but we are on the dark side. So, the light is hitting the moon after passing, where it would pass over the terminator, through the planet's atmosphere, potentially being scattered. This could create a permanent, faint twilight glow on the lunar surface, illuminated by the ring of sunrise that eternally circles the planet's limb as seen from the moon. This light would be incredibly dim, reddened, and diffuse, not the brilliant silver we imagine. For our brilliant silver, we need a different setup. Perhaps the planet is not in a typical star system. Perhaps it is a rogue planet ejected from its star, wandering the galaxy. The only light is from the galaxy itself, the combined glow of billions of stars. This would be an incredibly faint, milky glow. Still not our direct silver beam. The most plausible source for our direct coherent silver light is bioluminescence. What if the moon itself is alive, Or rather, what if its surface is covered in a bioluminescent fungus or organism that emits a cold, silver light? This is the ultimate twist. The moon is not reflecting light. It is producing it. This life could be fueled by the tidal heating of the moon's interior, venting gases that feed vast, global fields of light-emitting organisms. The light is intrinsic, constant, and monochromatic. This solves the light source problem elegantly and adds another layer of biological wonder to the system, a symbiotic relationship between a glowing moon and a mirrored ocean that amplifies its light for life below. The moon is not a dead rock, it's a lantern. Finally, the long-term fate. Such a system is a drawn-out catastrophe. The tidal forces are slowing the planet's rotation further, pulling the moon closer, or driving it away. In billions of years, the moon will either shatter into a ring, crash into the planet, or drift away, its light going out. The ocean's mirror will break. The film will degrade. The slow silver life will die. This scene is a snapshot of cosmic middle age, a beautiful, balanced, but doomed configuration. Understanding this impermanence makes the image even more powerful. It is a memento mori on a planetary scale. It tells us that all systems, no matter how stable and beautiful, are subject to the second law of thermodynamics, to entropy, to change. Our own solar system has such a fate. The sun will die, the earth will be scoured. But here, the process is visible, imminent in geological time. The inhabitants, if they are intelligent and scientific, would know their fate. Their philosophy would be one of serene acceptance, of making art and understanding in the face of inevitable, beautiful dissolution. They would know they live in a masterpiece that is also a closing chapter. This scientific deconstruction doesn't ruin the poetry, it enhances it. The silver reflection is not magic, it is the product of specific, severe, and awe-inspiring physical and biological conditions. It is a universe obeying its own laws to create a scene of heartbreaking beauty, a reminder that the cosmos is both engineer and artist, and that the line between physics and poetry is as thin as the film on that impossible ocean. We have journeyed through the aesthetics, the biology, the physics, and the personal experience of our moonlit ocean. Now let's synthesize this into a grand, unified vision and extract its ultimate meaning for us here and now on our vibrant, sun-drenched Earth. This silver world is more than a flight of fancy. It is a mirror held up to our own planet, revealing truths we often overlook. First, it highlights the profound importance of cycles. Our lives are governed by the diurnal cycle, the lunar month, the seasons. These rhythms are embedded in our biology, our culture, our psychology. On the silver world, there is one permanent state. There is no waiting for dawn, no anticipation of spring, no comfort in the cyclical return of the moon's phases. There is only stasis. This thought experiment shows us that change, the very thing we often fear or resist, is a gift. It is the engine of life, of adaptation, of story. Our sunrises are daily miracles of renewal, promising a fresh start. Our seasons teach us about impermanence and rebirth. The silver world has none of that. It is a world of eternal sameness, which to the human spirit could become a kind of exquisite hell. It teaches us to cherish the rhythm of our own lives, the busy days and restful nights, the periods of growth and rest.